Welcome. I'm your host, Jesse Sawyer, nationally recognized inclusive fitness trainer, Silver Sneaker Flex instructor. You can find out more about me. Visit my website at www.jessesawyer.com. Today, I'm going to be taking Silver Sneaker instructors, those Flex instructors, those live instructors, those Zoom instructors, those community instructors, and the clientele base through a tutorial of how to do a tricep kickback, either in the seated position or the standing position, unilateral or bilaterally, and then having modifications for each individual to try to make you be able to gain the most out of that movement, because it is a hinge movement, but we want to try to take the hinge out of that movement in order to elongate that tricep and get the greatest hypertrophy, because as we age, we don't want to atrophy, and those triceps are really important to a lot of stability exercises that we perform throughout a lot of the classes that you might take through the Silver Sneakers venues. Now, a few things before we get started: lightheadedness, pain, dizziness, discomfort, or fatigue. Hit the pause, come back a little bit later. Remember, get physician's clearance. Make sure you have your hydration. And for today's class, perceived exertion is 1 through 3, because it's just going to be really demonstrations of that tricep kickback from the seated position to the standing position, and then some modifications so that you can do it unilaterally or bilaterally to get the greatest engagement and enhancement of the hypertrophy that you're looking for. Hypertrophy, right? Say that a few times. Hypertrophy, hypertrophy. Now, I am grabbing two lightweight dumbbells. You can grab more if you would like. You can grab 4s, 3s, 2s, 1s. You could even go a little higher depending on what your instructor might have or what you might have sitting at home as you are in that aging process. Now, one thing that I would do is I'm going to turn to the side, and I'm going to turn my chair to the side. And what you don't want is you don't want arm rests. And I'm going to start with a simple hinge movement. So I'm great or good posture. Elbows or arms are just going to rest to the side, and I'm just going to hammer curl, neutral position, and rest those weights on my thighs. I'm going to bend forward like I'm about to jump off a ski slope, and I'm going to lock my elbows into my rib cage, and I'm going to lift up those arms. So now the weights are off my lower extremities, and I'm going to stay in this neutral position, and I'm going to just extend back. That's why they call it a tricep extension. Now, this is just a simple hinge movement, and if we were doing this in the gym holding onto a bar, we would attempt to get a little more stretch of that tricep. Now, this is bilateral because I'm doing both arms, but if I just wanted to isolate and just go to one arm, I could do that. I could just lift up this right arm right here, facing the left, and let it hover, elbow nice and tight, and just take it back, hinge, get a nice good extension. Now, there was two demonstrations there, unilaterally or bilaterally. Now, let me show you a modification to try to enhance that tricep a little bit more without having to float and get a greater stretch of it, and that is simply by a twist of the wrist and putting that hand in a pronated position. So we're going to lean forward again, good neutral position, weights resting on those thighs, lift on up like you're about to do a hammer curl, and now I'm going to extend back and I'm going to turn those hands. So now palms are facing up and my knuckles are facing down. I'm going to do 4 more. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now I'm going to just do it unilaterally with that right side so that you can see that right side lifts up in that hammer curl. I'm still in that hinge position, and now I'm going to drop and extend back and rotate. So when that arm comes back right about the chair, back of that chair, I'm turning. And now I'm going to activate that tricep just a little bit more. I'll do 2 more. 1 and 2. And that's a great way to add a modification. Now I'm also going to show you in this direction in case you have a high back chair. If you have a high back chair, this even works great for someone that struggles with hinging forward because it keeps them in good posture, right? And don't put too much pressure on their back. So when I say a high back chair, this is a low back chair, so I'm not really gonna get much, but if you had someone that with a high back, very mobile group that you were training, you could have that chair where it sits a little higher. Silver sneaker chairs typically sit a little higher. And you wanna hinge the waist back and you wanna lean forward into that chair. Now, I'm leaning a little forward, but my chair typically would be about this high. So I'm going to imagine that my chair would stop me right here. I don't want to sit straight up and down on it. I want to actually push my hips back. And now I would just lean into that chair. Or if this was a low back chair like I have here, I could just lean here, really brace myself, lean forward, and work on that unilateral. And what it does now, it helps brace my core. I'm using my left hand to keep me in that neutral position, and it's allowing me to get a nice good tricep kickback or extension. And if I wanted to modify it to enhance the hypertrophy, now I can just get that little twist at the end and push through, nice little hold, and really get greater engagement. And you could do that to the left side as well. Or if you just had a high back chair, you could just lean on it and do both at the same time while leaning on that chair. So another modification for those instructors out there or for that clientele that's taking this class. Show your instructor if you're taking this class and your instructor isn't incorporating a tricep kickback. Now, there are counter-indicated moves that I'm not going to show you today, but maybe that will be the tricep part 2 that I do show you. Now, you could do this in the standing position as well, where I'm going to just turn my chair. High back chair, awesome if you have one. If you don't, then you're going to just have that low back chair. And I'm just going to use this as my brace, right? I'm going to hinge again. I'm going to step about 24 inches away. I'm going to grab that chair. It'll be a little higher for the majority of you in class. Even the classes I teach, this is just a more modern type chair. And I'm just going to lean forward. I'm going to drop my hand down so it's subluxing. And now I'm just going to raise up into that rib cage. I'm going to curl up in a hammer curl. So now I'm in good position, back in neutral, and now I'm just going to kick back. Right? Pretty simple, pretty easy. And let's do 2 more. And then I'll show you the modification where we would just take it into that pronated position. So the real goal of the tricep is to get a stretch of the tricep. It's really hard with a dumbbell in these positions, but we're doing the best that we can. And you're at least getting engagement of that tricep through a tricep kickback or a hinge movement. It's not the best movement, but it is a movement that will work for any instructor or for any Silver Sneaker member that might be taking the class. Now, if you were going to do this really and try to attempt to engage the core, this is a little more advanced for those members out there, is stand away from that chair, hinge, let them sublux, drive those elbows into the rib cage, a little hammer curl so you're holding them right here. They should be in 90-degree position. Back is in neutral, and now you're doing bilateral, kicking on both back. And if I took and turned this way, you would see, or if I did an angle, 2 more. Now, if I want to modify them and try to add that rotation at the end, I'm just twisting those wrists and pushing through like I'm high-fiving somebody behind me. Excellent job. And there you go. A few simple tricep kickback exercises for the Silver Sneaker instructors that teach flex class, community classes, live classes, and for the clientele that might take classes with me as well. So I do introduce them. You have options. So it just depends on how far along you are in the process of learning, how well you can engage those triceps, how well you can activate that tricep, and can you hinge properly and get your body in that proper form and function to get the greatest engagement and enhancement and activation of that tricep. Hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial for that older adult, for that Silver Sneaker member. And I was again your host, Jesse Sawyer. Please subscribe. Continue to come back to these channels. Please like, please share, and continue to learn, because learning's growing, and growing, well, I'm not sure where the dogs have grown to, but I'm sure they're upstairs raising some havoc. Peace, my friends.